If the impossible actually happened and we hit the debt ceiling, we actually get past the dates, and just out of curiosity, how would the markets react? You say Washington is crying wolf, so it sounds to me as if you think markets would be calm.
Well, so I think you have to take a step back. First of all, we all know there's no longer a single drop-dead date where we're not in default, then we're in default. I think it's like this soft rolling period is number one. But number two, the closer we get, the markets, as you're seeing today and yesterday, the markets are beginning to push Washington just like they did with TARP in 2008. So the worse the market gets, the more pressure on the politicians will be as we get closer. If the unthinkable happens for more than a few days, you're going to start to see Treasury bonds soar and equities collapse.
So on October 18th, assuming no deal, nothing big, but on October 25th, assuming no deal, we get that description of, the yields on Treasuries going up and people getting out of the stock market. It won't happen before then?
I think you could certainly see a couple of bad down days in the several hundred points, but no, I don't think you have any kind of real big issue until at least a week to 10 days after whatever drop-dead date they give. Because frankly, as we keep learning from Washington, whatever dates they initially give aren't the real dates anyway.
Okay, so we hear a lot of people talking about calamity if we don't get a deal sometime around the 17th or soon after. But you've written, we heard the same garbage, and that's a quote from you, garbage regarding the dreaded fiscal cliff late last year with recession and interest rates spiking and markets collapsing. You'd point out that didn't happen, but a lot of economists say we lost a whole 1% of GDP because of sequestration and the fiscal cliff fiasco.
So regarding the fiscal cliff, I thought it was the biggest hoax since Y2K. I thought nothing of it at the time, and frankly, for our portfolios, it was great because it took advantage of the weakness. I never thought we'd go over the cliff for more than a day. We didn't. Sequestration, again, yeah, you could certainly say it shaved. I don't think it shaved a full point of GDP. I think that's crazy. Did it shave a few tenths off? Sure, but in the end, politicians at the fiscal cliff and at sequestration cried wolf. The world was going to end, stock market's going to collapse, bond market's going to crash, all these things are going to happen, nothing happened. So I think we're almost immune to it right now because you can only cry wolf so many times.
Yes. Yeah, no, you raise a good point, but let me ask you this. What percentage of the portfolio that you manage do you have in cash at this point?
Depending on which strategy, we've got as much as 50% in cash in certain portfolios, and I'll say this. We started nibbling yesterday. We started nibbling Friday. We'll nibble today. On any successive down day, I'm going to nibble until we get that final whoosh lower, where I think you clean up this whole pullback that began over a month ago, and I think we're racing to new highs above 16,000 by Q1 of 14.
And Paul, last question to you. I've had analysts on our broadcast and here on the Fox Business Network say they have very little to the side in cash. Are they foolish or are they lying?
I don't think it's either. I think it depends on how you run money. We run money a bit more actively. I have no problem taking an enormous cash position, which we did in middle end of September, and I have no problem having zero cash. I think it depends on your methodology. I think for us, we look at the downside first and the upside second. Other folks do it differently. There's plenty of ways to make money in the market. You have to follow a process to be comfortable.
And you do make plenty of money in this market. All right, Paul Schatz, thank you very much. I hope we get to talk to you on the 17th or 18th where we stand in all of this. All the best to you.
You too.
Okay, well, here's what our government shutdown looks like to the rest of the world. Secretary of State